Welcome to Candidate Profiles, brought to you by Millis Community Media. I'm Peter Themistocles. I'm a member of the Millis Community Media Board of Directors, and I'm happy to host these profiles. Our Candidate Profiles series is designed to help you, the Millis voter, become better acquainted with the candidates in this May's local election. All the candidates, opposed or unopposed, were invited to our studios for 15 minutes to answer questions submitted by Millis residents. I will ask the questions on behalf of the residents and will allow approximately 1.5 minutes for each answer before going on to the next question. Each candidate will have 1 minute at the start and finish for opening and closing statements. Now, joining me now is Donna Cabibbo, a candidate running for re-election for the town moderator. Hi, Donna. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Peter.
Well, please take it away with your opening statement.
Sure. I mean, the town moderator's role is a little different than most other elected officials in the sense that I am simply elected to run town meeting. I run town meeting by looking at the Mass General laws, and we use something called town meeting time, not Robert's rules, to work through our motions in the town meeting. And my role is really to just be the arbitrator there. I run the meeting, I make sure procedure is followed, and that the town's business gets done. And that's pretty much the role as it's seen. So it's not like I'm advocating for one side or the other. My opinion does not matter.
Why do you want to run for moderator?
I think the moderator's job is really important. In Massachusetts, town meeting has been a tradition for a very long time, and it is the place where we come and do our town's business. And I think it's important that it runs well, that it runs smoothly, and that people participate. And this role puts you in a place of knowing all the pieces that go together to make that happen. And you know, for someone like me who can be rather outgoing, to stand up in front of a bunch of people is not a difficult task for me. So it just seems to fit with my skill set to be able to stand up and run this meeting. But I have to admit, it was very humbling the first time to stand up and have to run that meeting.
So let's talk about running the meeting, sort of the nuts and bolts, if you will, of that process. Can you describe what someone, maybe their first time attending a town meeting, might expect to see from you, and then the process inside?
So basically the town goes through a process through the Finance Committee of looking at a series of warrant articles. And warrant, they call it the warrant because the whole idea is that they're warning the citizens of what's coming up. So that's where it comes from. And so there's a series of warrant articles that have been vetted by the Finance Committee, who has given, you know, an opinion on pro or con, and those warrant articles come up one at a time at town meeting. And then the town meeting's idea is they can ask questions, and then they vote on whether they want to approve or not approve these articles. So it's the budget, it's capital expenditures, it's bylaw changes. All of those types of things are part of what ends up on the warrant for a town meeting.
Mm-hmm. And so at the meeting itself, where do you come in that sense? Like you said you're
everything goes
arbitrating.
Well, so basically all of the back and forth is through the moderator. You address a question to the moderator then gives the floor to a member of the Finance Committee, the Select Board, or whoever is in the room that can answer that question. Or sometimes people are just voicing their opinion, which is fine. My job is to make sure they stay on topic and that they stay within a time constraint. We can't have people speaking for a half an hour. You know, we've got 31 articles on the warrant this spring. If we don't have some semblance of order around how that discussion occurs, then it could be a very, very lengthy meeting. So, but I'm really a traffic cop to a large extent. I want people to be civil and kind to one another, thoughtful in their process. So, you know, you don't want to allow someone to yell and scream, to insult people. I mean, people have worked very hard to bring this information forward, and it is the town's business. And to make it a personal interaction is something we really want to stay away from.
Right. Say though I am a town resident. If I want to attend the upcoming town meeting, if I have something a thought I'd like to share with the town at the meeting, what do I have to do to be able to be heard at the meeting?
At the town meeting, you would stand to be recognized by the moderator. At our town meetings, we often have people line up in a line behind the microphones, and then each person, as they come up to the microphone, says who they are, where they live in town, and if they have a position in town, such as a member of the planning board or something, they also divulge that. and then they get to speak. You need to stay on topic, and it needs to be specific to the article that's in front of us. So if we're talking about leash laws and you want to talk about the water situation, it's not an appropriate thing to be doing at that point with that article.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question from a Millis resident is sort of in lead from this. Should the discussion time be limited to those who speak at the floor mics at town meeting? How do you balance the Q&A meeting at the meetings so that everyone's voices can be heard?
You try as much as possible to be very cognizant of what the crowd is doing and making sure that you're letting everyone that wants to get up and speak. People at town meeting can make the decision to cut off debate by making a motion to move the question, at which point the whole meeting votes on whether they are ready to end discussion on that topic. If it's a yes, then we immediately move to vote on the motion. If not, then discussion will continue. So the town meeting has control to a certain extent as to how long the debate goes. The moderator can set how much time each person can speak at the mic, but I do not limit how many people can get up and do that. That really becomes a policing by the town meeting itself.
Okay, thank you. The next question, with regard to COVID-19, at the next town meeting coming up on, what is the?
It is on May 1st at 2 p.m. at the Millis Middle School, High School parking lot.
Great, and we'll repeat that a number of times before the end of this, but at that event, do you think that the new safety protocols for holding the town meetings have kept people from attending?
I thought that the meeting we held in November outside was very well attended, and I don't think so. I mean, people have to be comfortable. I can tell you that we've gone through a lot of trouble to make sure that the safety protocols are followed, that we're spacing people, and we feel very confident. This has been an effort between all of the boards in town, including the Board of Health, the DPW, the police, the fire. We've all looked at this situation and feel very comfortable with this setup. And we're using the same setup that we used at Fall One this spring, but we've expanded the size of it because we do expect a big crowd.
And you expect a big crowd because there are a number of...
There are quite a few contentious issues on the warrant. We're talking about the potential of purchasing a piece of land on Village Street. There are zoning bylaw changes, as well as other capital items, and the town budget itself.
How can townspeople understand what is on this warrant?
They will be getting the warrant in the mail. We are also, if you go out to the town website, there will be a link that will take you to town meeting materials, which will include, a little bit of an overview of what the meeting's going to look like, which I'm posting, the warrant, and any other ancillary documents that will help you understand the pieces of the warrant, as well as I'm hoping to be putting out there as well a summary of the common motions and what they mean that you would make at town meeting as a citizen, so to understand how to move the question and things like that.
That would be super helpful.
Yeah, and you will also have a packet on your seat when you get to town meeting that will include those materials.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Now, so it sounds like there's going to be a lot of interest in this particular upcoming meeting. Sometimes there are meetings where maybe there's not so much interest. Maybe there's less items on the warrant or nothing contentious. In those situations, and here's the question being asked, how would you encourage voter participation at town meeting, even where there may not be a hot button issue?
I think people have to take their civic responsibility seriously. As we do town meeting now, because we are an open town meeting versus a representative town meeting. At a representative town meeting, people are elected to represent groups of people and they go to the town meeting. But with the type of town meeting we do, we can't do things remotely. You have to physically come. So, I mean, all we can do is encourage people to show up. The town meeting committee, which has been appointed to look into town meeting structure, is looking into whether there might be a way to do things remotely and virtually, like we've been doing for finance committee and selectmen's meetings. But as the law stands right now, that is not an option that's open to the town meeting that we do. So I would just encourage people that this is a very important thing. Politics is local. Everything that you do in town is affected by what happens at town meeting.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And with regard to the role of moderator, there are some other functions as well beside moderating the town meeting. Can you tell us a little about those?
I also, in my role as moderator, will appoint people to committees where you're appointed. So let's say the FinCom, they get appointed. The Tri-County School Board member gets appointed by myself the chair of the board, of the select board, as well as the chair of the school committee, the cemetery commission, the town meeting committee, and all of these things are appointments that are made in town, and I officially make those appointments.
Thank you. And the last question from the Millis resident, do you think that the town meeting form of government still works for Millis, or should we maybe consider a change?
If you're a town in Millis, unless you've incorporated yourself some other way, town meeting is your form of governance. If you become a city, like Framingham did recently and now has a mayor, they no longer do town meeting. But as our standard, we'd have to change the entire way we do our governance in town to think about a different option. And I think it is still a valid, it is democracy at its heart, quite frankly. You get to truly have your voice heard. I think people should feel comfortable getting up and speaking. There should be nothing intimidating about this. They're just your neighbors.
Fantastic. And we have plenty of time, Donna, at this point, if you'd like to wrap up with a closing statement.
Sure. The town moderator's position is only a one-year elected position. They are looking to potentially change the charter to make it 3. But right now, the person who does this job has to run every year. I would encourage people to look into these types of positions and educate themselves. And it would be great to have a more robust grouping of people running and less, I mean, honestly, opposed positions means a healthy democracy. And it would be nice to see that type of thing. And if people are at all curious about how these things run, please reach out. Even you don't need to be a lawyer. I'm not, to do this role. You just need to be willing to educate yourself. And there's actually a Mass Moderators Association that does an incredibly wonderful job of giving you the resources you need to do the job well. So I would encourage people to get involved across the board. That line about the world is run by those who show up, it's very true.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, Donna Cabibbo, thank you so much for joining us here in Candidates Profiles. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all at the polls on May 10th.